You know the feeling. You grab a brand new bag of your favorite chips, tearing open the top, and look inside, only to find it's mostly air. Curious. We usually brush it off as bad luck, but it actually plays on a blind spot in human psychology. Our brains are incredibly sensitive to the slightest bump in price, but lack the spatial awareness to notice a tiny dip in volume. This blind spot gave rise to shrinkflation, altering a package's physical geometry to hold less product while keeping the price exactly the same. Manufacturers use this excess space as a calculated optical illusion, maintaining sales volumes while delivering less product. To understand why brands do this, we have to look at the global supply chain. When the cost of raw materials, basic ingredients, and transportation goes up, manufacturers feel the squeeze. Imagine running a company where the cocoa for your chocolate or the diesel for delivery trucks suddenly costs 20% more. You have two choices: raise the retail price and risk losing your customers, or find a way to cut your costs invisibly. For most executives, stealth downsizing is the mathematical winner. It protects their profit margins without triggering immediate sticker shock at the checkout counter. So how do they actually pull it off? The easiest method is manipulating the two-dimensional silhouette of the package. They make the container taller and thinner, so from the front, it maintains the exact same shelf presence. Frito-Lay used this exact strategy. Over recent years, they quietly reduced the size of their standard snack bags, like Doritos, from 9.75 ounces down to 9.25 ounces. This diagram shows how that half-ounce reduction actually works. By altering the proportions, the bag looks identical facing you in the aisle, but it silently removes roughly 5 to 10 chips from every single bag, while the price stays steady. By locking in that front-facing silhouette, the manufacturer bypasses your brain's spatial awareness. Your eyes see the familiar shape, and your brain assumes the volume matches your memory. The deception gets more sophisticated when we look at solid containers. This is where brands engineer hidden voids directly into the three-dimensional structure of the packaging. Take Skippy Peanut Butter. Facing rising costs, they wanted to keep their price tag exactly where it was. On the shelf, the old and new jars seem identical, but checking the net weight on the label tells a different story. This 3D X-ray view reveals the structural trick. They molded a massive dimple into the bottom of the plastic jar. It pushes up into the container, secretly displacing 1.7 ounces of peanut butter without changing the exterior height or width. Then there is slack fill and edge rounding. Brands like Cadbury shave weight off chocolate bars by rounding out the square corners, while manufacturers like General Mills manage the volume of their family-size cereals simply by leaving excessive empty air at the top of the box. These structural changes fundamentally transform standard packaging into a form of weaponized geometry, meticulously engineered to deceive the everyday consumer's eye. These missing ounces might seem trivial in isolation, but for a family buying the same staples every week, they add up. Over time, these micro-reductions compound into a hidden tax, sometimes costing consumers up to 32% more for their daily groceries. You might be wondering why this isn't classified as outright fraud. The answer is in the fine print. As long as the company accurately prints the new, smaller net weight somewhere on the packaging, it is legally compliant. It works because it targets a behavioral loophole. Manufacturers know we shop by automatic visual recognition. We grab the familiar shapes we've bought for decades instead of stopping to read the tiny math. This corporate strategy remains highly viable because it leverages our cognitive reliance on visual habits over written facts. There is, however, an objective defense against these geometric tricks: the unit price. This is the explicit cost per ounce, usually printed in tiny font right next to the main retail price on the shelf tag. This line graph reveals the mathematical reality. By isolating the price per ounce, you neutralize the packaging illusion completely. It makes it instantly obvious when an identical-looking box has been quietly downsized. In the grocery aisle, checking the unit price before the item hits the cart overrides these visual manipulations. Understanding the architecture of these tricks shifts the economic power back from the brands to the buyer.